What's going on, guys? It's Daily here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Great War Western Front. This is an upcoming real-time strategy battle simulator by the developers Petroglyph. They are the same people who made Star Wars Empire at War, a game that we have a lot of experience in with this channel, hundreds of hours played, one of my all-time favorite Star Wars games ever. So when I got an email from the guys at Petroglyph to go check out their brand new game, The Great War Western Front, I hopped right on it. An RTS game with also a campaign map based around World War I. One of my main studies in college as a history major. I was pretty hyped. So I got to go into the event and listen to a little bit of a presentation about the game as well as play the game's tutorial. Sadly, there was an emergency in my building during the game capture time, so I only got to play the tutorial. I didn't get to dive into the campaign or anything like that, but from what I played on the tutorial, I had an extremely fun time in this brand new World War I battle simulator. And the guys from Petroglyph were really kind enough to send me a bunch of B-roll footage of the campaign and different battles and things like that, so we have something to watch in this video itself as well. We have an exclusive look at some of this footage, so I'm pretty hyped to share this with you. So basically what you're able to do in the Great War here is become a both theater and field commander. Now, the theater commander, I sort of related to Total War games and their campaign map. It's just like that. So, you know, in Rome Total War, where you basically get to see the entire Mediterranean Sea and fight around there and, you know, around Southern Europe and things like that. It's sort of the same thing here, but from, you know, 1914 to 1918. And geared primarily in the western front of the war, so basically the French, German, Belgian area right over there. So as a theater commander, you basically get to manage resources, buy new units, call in allies. You both get to attack the enemy by, you know, sending troops through the trenches, as well as, you know, plan your defenses, stockpile, issue different edicts and things along those lines. It's very much so a campaign-esque battle simulator, turn-based strategy game in theater commander mode, but then once you sort of go into field commander mode, it's a ground battle. You're on the battlefield, you know, you've got a limited number of troops, whatever you supplied yourself while in theater mode, and you battle throughout this huge battlefield with multiple different trench lines. You literally get to see hundreds of soldiers on the battlefield itself. You get to command your artillery. You get to command different like airstrikes. You can put up reconnaissance balloons. You could go ahead and send in different bombing runs. You can even do like trench raiders, send in tanks and things like that. It's a full in-depth battlefield. And it feels very large scale as well. World War I is a war notorious for these massive scale battles. Literally, you know, half of a year is spent in a battle just bombarding, only to then have literally millions of men all at once surge forward, and you get that experience in this game. In the battle that I was able to play in the tutorial, you felt like there were literally hundreds of thousands of soldiers in your command rushing forward at the enemy or trying to deflect the enemy away from your trenches. I think this game does a fantastic job of replicating what trench warfare really was like, but also gamifying it. One of the hardest things that I have ever found in World War I games is making World War I both realistic and fun, because it's a war that, you know, is all about stalemates and draws and, you know, a lack of action. Many parts of, you know, the World War I Western Front were just stalemates for years, and all the fighting would be happening in a different area, or, you know, it would spark up in random places and then die down for a year. So this game really puts you into the action-packed areas and also stays realistic to it by having really hardcore trench defenses, but also giving you opportunities to navigate those trench defenses, do flanking routes, utilize tanks and other things that came in the later war that allowed the trench warfare to be broken up. So you really get to experience a very authentic World War I RTS battle simulator while simultaneously experiencing a really fun RTS battle simulator. So basically, you can win the game by depleting the enemy resources or taking their capital. And it's pretty tough to do both of those things. You know, these campaigns seem like they are going to last a good bit of time, similar to a Total War campaign or like, you know, a Star Wars Empire at War campaign. It's not like you're going to sit down and knock it out in an afternoon. It's something that you're going to have multiple play sessions with, which is really exciting. And it seems like all the campaigns are going to have, you know, different things happening in them. The AI seems intelligent. It seems like you're not going to have the exact same World War I battle every single time you do it. And you're going to have to continuously try and think on your feet on how to solve these situations, you know, manage your resources properly. There's many different things sort of weighing against you and your luck in this game, which is basically just going to keep you on your toes the entire time. Even in the tutorial, I could already experience like there's a serious balance between, you know, keeping your money up to pay for troops, but also trying to get in supplies with that money, and also trying to manage, you know, morale and things like that on the battlefield. It seems like there's a lot of different things weighing against you, and you have to make hard decisions like, okay, you know, this unit is depleted by 50% right now. I can either keep them in the trench with, you know, a slim chance that they manage to get some more kills, or I can try and withdraw them back and then have to wait a turn while they replenish their forces. It's a lot of decisions like that where, you know, you're gonna have to sit there and really think about it. Meanwhile, your army is getting obliterated, which is exactly what I love from all of my favorite RTSs. Star Wars Empire at War, Men of War Assault Squad 2, Company of Heroes. All of those games make you think under pressure and make your decisions actually count and are not super forgiving. But honestly, just talking about the gameplay itself right now, one of my favorite things to do, and something that I really want to do more of when this game comes out, is their defenses. The defense was probably my favorite thing. Defense missions have always been kind of my favorite in RTS games. In Men of War, I've always been partial to defense missions, especially defense missions where you get to choose your resources and choose where to allocate them. And this has that in droves. So basically you can pick, you know, which machine gun nests go where on trenches. You can also link communications trenches to make supplying reinforcements easier, or also, you know, you choose where to put your reconnaissance balloon so that you can see the enemy while also having to realize, like, I also have to protect this reconnaissance balloon or else I lose all of my recon. You also get, you know, chances to send out fighters to both be defensive against the enemy as well as to potentially do strikes against the enemy too. So there's a lot that goes into these defenses, and it really feels like you get to build the defense from the ground up with your MG nests, with your trenches where you get to pick where they're placed, with which trenches you actually want to man with soldiers and which areas of the battlefield you want to try and defend against the rushing enemies, as well as artillery. You know, do you early on bombard their trenches with the artillery, trying to wipe out a few of their soldiers before they come up over the top? Or do you risk bombarding them when they're already in no man's land, when they're moving and it's harder to pin them down, but at the same time it does more damage if they're in no man's land? There's just all these little decisions when it comes to the defensive battles in this that just seem really, really fun. And something unique about this is that not every single battle results in a clear-cut victory. Much like World War I, most of these battles are going to end in draws, except with one side coming out a little bit stronger than the other. So basically, at the end of a battle, you can either decide to keep going or, you know, accept the draw from the enemy. If the enemy is losing, they can be like, okay, I propose, you know, a truce, whatever, we move on. And you can either be like, nah, we're still fighting, or okay, yeah, let's back away from this. And if you choose to back away at that time, sort of the total resource management in the theater mode will be affected by that. If you accept the draw and you are winning that outcome, you gain more resources, you gain more morale for your overall nation. Meanwhile, the enemies goes down. But it can also be, you know, true vice versa. If you don't accept the draw and you decide to then counter attack or just continue the defense or whatever ends up happening in that scenario, and all of a sudden the tides turn and you start losing and you propose a draw at that point, then your economy could be wrecked, your morale could be wrecked. So it's very, very interesting how that all plays into the actual campaign, what happens on the battlefield. Meanwhile, in games like Total War, there's almost never really a draw. Yes, sometimes both armies back away, but it's always very clear, like, one army is in shambles and is trying to run away, while the other army is, you know, gonna go chase them down next turn and just kill them. But in this, it's very different. You have to pick which battles you actually want to fight. Do you want to take the outcome now that is beneficial to you, or risk going one step further? There is decisive victories, but it's a little bit more rare, whereas in Total War it feels a bit more like, okay, that's a victory, we move on, we take their capital, bada bing. While in this it's like, okay, we got a victory there, but there's no promising that we're gonna maintain this victory. We have to be careful here. It makes it feel like a bit more like chess than checkers. But beyond all that, it also seems like there will be some historical battles you could play, which seems really cool. I think I again had an emergency in my building, so I had to evac, but it seems like they got to play the Battle of the Somme during the play session, which I'm really jealous of. The largest British battle, I think, in war history still, at least military battle on land. I think that's still true, but either way, the Battle of the Somme, I believe they got to play, which is really cool that they're adding historical battles to this as well, because obviously in this entire game, you're going to be making decisions that might not line up with history. It's sort of like in HOI 4, if you choose to do weird things as Germany, you can end up winning World War II or whatever. Same thing here. It might not always end with the Treaty of Versailles or whatever. And so in this, it's very interesting how there is going to be those historical battles that you get to fight in and still get that true World War I experience. Meanwhile, in the campaign itself, you can go ahead and do a little bit of alternative history, which is cool. So yeah, either way, this is looking like one of my favorite games to come out in 2023 so far. It looks very, very promising. I'm not getting paid to say this. They invited me to the event, but I can say bad things if I want. I just don't really have anything bad to say. I think, like, right now, I would say, like, the performance of the game wasn't amazing, but at the same time, we were using a sort of, like, screen sharing software, so it wasn't my own machine it was running on. So I think, like, on my own machine the performance would be a lot better. Some of the controls didn't work super well for me, like moving around with middle mouse button and stuff, but this is still a demo. It's an event build, so there's going to be probably some bugs in it, a lot of bugs. So they refine those things, and I think this could end up being a huge rival towards Sega's Total War. Creative Assembly better watch out. And going into a historical Total War type battle simulator is going to be really, really cool. But at the same time, it's very different from Total War, so I don't think it's going to feel boring or like a mod or anything like that, but it's very different, very unique gameplay style. But I'm saying sort of like the grand campaign mixed with RTS battles is going to be really, really fun to experience in a World War I theater, and I think they flesh out the bugs and the performance, and boom, you have yourself a game that I'm going to be visiting for the next 10 years. So the game is going to be available for you guys to play during Steam Next Fest as a demo, which is going to be February 6th to the 13th, and you can download the demo for free, which is pretty cool, and it'll be the same sort of tutorial that we got to play. But then the rest of the content, I guess, in the demo will be different, and the stuff that we got to preview is exclusive to this event. So I don't think it will be the Battle of the Somme. I think it'll be something else, but I'm not totally sure what it is. They've also given us the actual launch date, so the launch is going to be March 30th, which is really not that far away, and pre-orders are going to begin February 3rd, which is today, and if you pre-order it, you get early access to the game on March 27th, which is cool. So if you want to go check it out on Steam right now and pre-order it, and then you can also play the demo for yourself from the 6th to the 13th, which should be pretty cool as well. Either way, guys, honestly, this is probably one of the most promising upcoming RTS games we've had in a really, really long time, and I am super hyped for it. Thank you to the guys for having me go and play this over at Petroglyph, and thank you to you guys for listening, and let me know what you guys think of some of the gameplay you've seen in the background and the stuff I've told you. Either way, guys, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, comment down below, all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.